Hello and welcome back. Currently we are discussing about the staffing chapter. In the previous lectures we talked about the staffing process in detail, and in the next lecture we talked about recruitment from external sources and recruit from internal sources, the advantages and disadvantages of each system in detail, and now we will talk about the selection process in detail. The selection process has 8 steps to it, 8 stages to it. In today's video, we will talk about the first 2 steps, which are the preliminary screening and the selection tests. So let's talk about the first step in the selection process, which is preliminary screening. Now, this is the stage where the person who is going to recruit will receive a lot of applications. Almost 150 to 200 applications in the form of resumes would have already been sitting in the recruiter's email inbox. So the person who wants to recruit will collect and gather all the resumes and take it to a separate folder, and then his job will be to start opening each and every inbox and verify each and every resume from top to bottom. So depending on the time availability and also the patience level of the person who wants to recruit, a person will allocate anywhere between 5 to 10 minutes for each and every resume. When I used to do this job, again, I used to have a complete repository of 100 to 150 resumes, and we had to filter almost 10 to 15 candidates from that. The general rule is any bulk of resumes that you get from your inbox, let's say you are sorting through 50 resumes or let's say you are sorting through 100 resumes, the general rule is almost 80% of that will be directly unqualified, which means you will be able to easily reject them right by just seeing the resume at first glance itself. So this way, almost 80 to 90% of the applications will get rejected straight away. So how does this disqualification process happens? Let me explain that. Generally, the company designing the role will also tell that what type of person should be appointed for that. So if I have to recruit a person who is an officer or a senior officer or a junior officer, then I will be okay if I can recruit a BCom graduate or an MBA graduate. I don't need to recruit necessarily a chartered accountant for that. But my HR policy will state that if I have to recruit a person above senior officer level, which is like executive, assistant managerial level, then that person has to be compulsorily a chartered accountant. No matter how much a BCom graduate has an experience in terms of work experience, like 7, 8, 10 years, they may not be able to get directly recruited as an executive in the company. So the company might have a strong policy like that. So that means, let's say I have an opening for executive post, and out of that 150, almost 80 to 90 resumes will be belonging from a candidate who just passed BCom, a candidate who just passed MBA, or a candidate who is just a CA interqualified and not CA final qualified. So like that, immediately based on qualification, based on the merit, you can reject a first cut of 80-90 people. So that is the preliminary screening process. And also at the next level, you will be able to see the resume might not be so strong. Let's say again, if you are recruiting for an executive or an assistant manager post, the person would not have done much of work in their articleship. The resume would have looked very weak, or the person would have taken a lots of attempts, way more attempts to clear CA. So some organizations will have a filtering criteria based on the number of attempts. So some say that, okay, if you have kept more than 3 attempts, no recruiting for you. So like that, based on these conditions, they will screen the applications and get the good ones filtered out. So out of a volume of 150, a population of 150, some 15 to 20 applications will be finally shortlisted. So once that preliminary screening is done, each and every stage will happen one by one after that. So the next step that happens after that is, in practical, I'm telling you, the company will give a phone call to the person or send an email to the person. Based on the reply that they get from the person, they will invite the person either physically come to the headquarters or where their interview process is going to take place, or the person will be asked to do a test right from their home. So that's the next step, which is the employer will carry out a list of tests on the potential candidate. Before they are being called for actual technical round of interview, they will be even filtered through another layer of tests, which is a list of tests that are given here. In your study material, it is given like intelligence tests, aptitude tests, and then you have personality test, trait test, and interest test. Now, in real life, they don't conduct all tests, probably will not be conducted in a single interview process. A company might use one or two or combination of two or three from this list of tests. Anyway, let me tell you how each and every test is carried out and what those tests are. So first is intelligence test. This is a typical straightforward IQ test. You must have already taken IQ tests in your life already. You must have heard about this person has high IQ, that person has a very low IQ. So that is intelligence test, to generally have an idea about what is the intelligent level of this candidate. So why is IQ test important? It's because if a person has a naturally high IQ, they will think through solutions much faster. This intelligence test is generally used for knowledge based work. So it is not done for physical type of work, not for blue collar jobs, but this is specifically for white collar jobs, where the job involves a lot of critical thinking and analytical thinking. Then this IQ test will be conducted. So I'll give you an example of how a typical IQ test will look like. So this is a typical IQ test question you must have seen already. So 2, 5, 9, 14, 20, 27. What will come next? So 2 plus 3 is 5, 5 plus 4 is 9, and 9 plus 5 is 14. So the numbers are increasing in progression. So the next answer should be 27. So and then the test will go on like this. So then again, you have been given some shapes like this. At this box, what will happen? So you can give a try yourself. There are lots of IQ tests available online. So you can give a shot later on. So at the end of the tests, you will get a score. If you get score above 100, then it means that you are a little way more mature than your current age. You have more intelligence than your current age. If you have less than 100, then that's not so a welcoming sign. The next thing is aptitude test. Okay, what's written here? It is a measure of individual's potential for learning new skills. It indicates the person's capacity to develop and learn new skills. This again, it will not be conducted as a test per se, but while doing preliminary screening, they will look for this attribute in that resume. Because while doing preliminary screening in the resume, we will see particularly two things. One is the main qualification and the other is other achievements. Okay, what has this person achieved or learned apart from the main curriculum? Let's say if I'm screening for an officer role resume, I will see, okay, this person has done BCom. Okay, fine. From a good college, yes. With a good passing percentage, yes. Apart from BCom, what has he done? Has he learned Excel? Has he learned Tally? Has he learned at least one module of SAP? Or has he done any diploma in data analytics? Something we will have to see. So we will know that, okay, this person, apart from what they learn, mainly have the interest to learn more also. So that is aptitude test. This will not be conducted as a test per se, but it will be done while screening process itself in real life. Okay, now comes the most interesting part, which is the personality test. I have been through this in my case first-hand basis. I have actually been through this personality test when I cleared CA and when I went for interview in my first job. They did personality test for me. So let me tell you what is a personality test. You must have heard about multiple personalities, right? There are lots of types of people who have their own unique personalities. Generally, you must have heard of people saying that I'm an introvert, I'm an extrovert. Okay, so generally introvert type of people are very reserved and extrovert type of people are outgoing. These are like the broad categories of two categories of people, but then it gets much more sophisticated than that. There are actually 16 recognizable personalities that are there. So let me show you the different personality types. This is again 16personalities.com. There are many personalities actually. INTJ, which is an architect, and INTP, logician, commander, debater, advocate, INFJ. So if the personality starts with IN, it refers to introvert, and if it starts with EN, it is extrovert. So protagonist is extrovert, ENFJ, extrovert. So like this, campaigner, it goes on and on, logistician, defender, it goes on and on. So how does a personality test will look like? What are the questions that will be there? You regularly make new friends. So you have to answer these type of questions. In the personality test that I went through in my job interview, the questions were very similar to this. Not exact questions like this, but very similar to it. Do you make new friends? How often do you go out of your house? Or are you the life of a party? So they just want to know what type of a personality you are. So they won't want to know directly whether you are a drinker or a smoker. Indirectly, they will test you like this to know whether you have such habits. So they will just reasonably make their mind about you. So this is basically to know about your character, about your personality trait, whether you will create a ruckus inside the company in the future or not. Are you a very rebellious person? Do you have any contradictory, conflict creating ability? These type of things that they want to know in person. Because as an organization, when there are 150 to 200 people, 500 people working inside, the company will like to keep it as peaceful and as organized as possible. Let's say there are 15-20 people whose resume looked very great, but they happened to be extremely rebellious people. Then those people will keep creating one issue after the other. They will try to make followers for themselves, create union. And again, it will not lead to a peaceful functioning of a company. We saw in organizing chapter about informal organization, how disadvantageous it can get. We saw the severity of the risks that it possesses. So this personality test is again extremely important. We will see a couple of questions here. You regularly make new friends. No. Complex and novel ideas excite you more than simple and straightforward ideas. Okay, sort of, yes. You usually feel more persuaded by what resonates emotionally with you than by factual arguments. No. So like this, the questions will keep on going. You are living in working spaces are clean and organized. Yes. So like this, the questions will keep going on, and finally this website will tell you of all the 16 personalities it listed, what type of personality you are. Okay, so that is personality test for you. Now let us talk about trait test. Trait test you must have seen many times already, or if you don't know, let me tell you how trait test happens. The trait test is actually like the main interview itself. Okay, let me give you the example. These days, the famous YouTubers, if they want to hire some video editors, it's not that they will ask them to send their resume and then they will keep sitting and filtering the resumes and then they will call them and do a telephone interview. They won't waste time like that. So what these YouTubers do, they will give one normal talking head video of them and upload it on Twitter or someplace where there is already a lot of audience in that platform. And they will say that this is a talking video of me for 10 minutes. I need a video editor. So your job is to take this video, download this video, make an interesting edit and show me what you can do. And send that edited video to this email ID. Like that, they will make a post and then we will wait till 1 month, 30 days. You have 30 days to do this. Or let's say if the YouTuber is like extremely, they are in rush, they will say, okay, 7 days for you, do the edit and send it to me. So then they will start seeing the edited final output only. And from that, they will pick 1 or 2 or 3 maximum. Then they will go for the actual interview. So that is trait test. In companies, again, companies like Google, companies like Microsoft, they will not directly recruit any person who is in coding or development. They will already give some problem, some complex problem. You have to give a solution for them. They will see how your coding is. Are you writing very long, lengthy code, or is your code short and crisp? Like that, they will see the trait test. So just these tests measure the existing skills of the individual. Okay, so what you already know about the job that you are applying for. So that is trait test. Then last test is interest test. Again, I don't see this happening very frequently in real life, but let me see anyway. Every individual has fascination for some job than the other. Interest tests are used to know the pattern of interest or involvement of a person. Again, we don't see any actual tests per se regarding interest. We will just get to hear that in the main interview, and before that we will get to see that in the resume itself. Let's say there are lots of subdivisions inside an organization. Even if you are applying for accounts and finance, inside accounts and finance there are lots of subdivision. Based on your interest, you will apply to that division, whether you want to work in audit or whether you want to work in costing or whether you want to work in taxation. People will just know about it through the resume itself. So again, it's just given here. Learn it academically, but in real life, it doesn't happen that normally. So the thing is, IQ test is quite familiar. Personality test almost every organization will conduct, and trade test is used for again these modern day recruitment. Big companies and big creators, they use trade test. So that these are the selection tests. So this concludes the first part of our coverage on selection process. In tomorrow's video, we will talk about all the rest of other processes like employment interview, reference and background checks, everything we will see in tomorrow's video. I will see you tomorrow. Thank you and bye bye.